What's up, world? I'm Cameron McKinney, and this is Pop Culture Spotlight, a podcast about the movie The Invite. Here's a quick synopsis. Joe and Angela, a longtime married couple, invite their neighbors Hawk and Pina, a passionate couple, over to their home for the first time ever. The film stars Olivia Wilde, Seth Rogen, Edward Norton, and Penelope Cruz. Standout performances. I want to start by talking about Olivia Wilde as a performer. She, of course, has star power. Her best work, in my humble opinion, has happened in Drinking Buddies with Jake Johnson, Spike Jonze's Her with Joaquin Phoenix, both in 2013, and Don't Worry Darling, her own film, which is a mess, but she's good in it. Wilde is the engine of this movie, The Invite. As Angela, she's the reason the film works and is far and away the best thing in it, and proves that moving forward, she should be one of those actor-directors who is the star of their own movie. I'm talking about the likes of Ben Affleck and Bradley Cooper, two actors who do their best acting work in the movies they direct. Wilde has proven herself to be a very good filmmaker with Booksmart and The Invite, but I think she's an even better actress. Every 2 to 3 years, I want the next Olivia Wilde directed film starring Olivia Wilde. Wilde has another film out right now called I Want Your Sex with Cooper Hoffman that's getting rave reviews and is going to be in Behemoth from writer-director Tony Gilroy with Pedro Pascal. Wilde is having a moment. I mean, people were really down on her after the failure of Don't Worry Darling. I mean, they proclaimed her as the next big it filmmaker after Booksmart. She was going to make a movie in the Spider-Man universe that so far hasn't happened. And yes, she should still be viewed as a very good director, but I think what has won her back in people's favor is her acting. She has been so good lately in almost everything she's in. For example, I absolutely loved her work in the Seth Rogen Apple comedy The Studio. And that gets me to Seth Rogen. Rogen was labeled the comedian most associated with the bromance, that his films were just all about male friendships, yet ironically some of his best performances have happened in movies about a conventional romance. The first is, to this day, the underrated Take This Waltz, which paired him with Michelle Williams, and then later you get Long Shot with Charlize Theron. These movies give you the best version of Seth Rogen. I mean, he's still able to be one of the funniest actors on the planet, but he is at his most likable when he is playing off of an actress the caliber of Olivia Wilde. I would say watching Seth Rogen do dramatic acting is like watching Adam Sandler in Punch Drunk Love. You're still getting that Seth Rogen that you love, but he's doing different kinds of work. I mean, he is really good in films now directed by Steven Spielberg, Danny Boyle, and Olivia Wilde. And he's become somebody you want to see work with the same actresses over and over again. I want to see more of Seth Rogen and Olivia Wilde. I want to see Rogen work with Charlize Theron again. I want to see him continue to work with Rose Byrne, work with Michelle Williams for a third time. The movies that were mainly about male friendships, which paired him with Jason Segel, Jay Baruchel, Jonah Hill, those were great films. Paul Rudd, Steve Carell. I loved that era, but we are now seeing a different version of Seth Rogen, and dare I say, a better version of Seth Rogen. It feels like a lifetime ago that Edward Norton and Marvel parted ways, and he was no longer the Incredible Hulk, and he missed out on an opportunity to be in some of the biggest movies ever made, and for a while after that, it felt like he was no longer relevant. But in the last few years, Norton has been far more consistent with the quality of movies he's agreed to be a part of. Glass Onion playing a billionaire and A Complete Unknown playing famed folk singer Pete Seeger. And in The Invite, he plays Hawk. And one of the biggest reasons I think he's found success is that he's no longer trying to be cool on screen. The whole point of A Complete Unknown is him playing wholesome and boring, which is something Norton is great at doing. This is a guy who played incredibly cool parts in the 90s like Worm and Rounders and the narrator in Fight Club. Hollywood, which they tend to do, treated Edward Norton like he was a movie star leading man, when in reality he's just a great actor who should play more character parts. Yes, Norton can be incredible in leading roles in American History X, Fight Club, and 25th Hour, but for the most part, I prefer him in supporting roles. He's done some of his best work lately as a part of the Wes Anderson ensemble. I love his work in Asteroid City. And I still believe he gives the absolute best performance in Wes Anderson's Moonrise Kingdom. And finally, there are some people who have mixed feelings on the English language films with Penelope Cruz in them. You have the polarizing Vanilla Sky. I know she has an Oscar, but for me, her best work in an English-speaking role is Michael Mann's Ferrari. She's just incredible in that movie. That absolutely should have gotten her an Oscar nomination, if not an Oscar win. I like Penelope Cruz in The Invite quite a lot. I just think she gets overshadowed by Olivia Wilde and Seth Rogen, and I feel kind of similarly towards Edward Norton. Maybe it's because I'm just so used to those two giving great performances. This feels like something different from Olivia Wilde and Seth Rogen, so I am giving them more kudos for the work they're doing in this movie, but I really do believe they give the two best performances in the movie, and I'm not throwing shade at Norton and Cruz. I think they are really good in The Invite. I just believe both of them have done better work in other movies. And probably the biggest compliment I can give towards Olivia Wilde and Seth Rogen for their work in The Invite is that it feels effortless. They are just so good at what they are doing in this movie. It's all charm. It's all movie stardom. They are the reasons this movie worked, for me anyways. The Invite is a movie in which I like the performances in it more than I like the movie itself and what it is saying. And I'm someone who cares about performances and actors more than I care about plot. My issue with The Invite is, for one, I don't think it's saying anything new about marriage or relationships or monogamy. Like, I don't think it has anything new to say about its subject matter. And maybe that's a hard way to judge a movie like this, because maybe there really isn't anything new and insightful to say on the subject, but that's how I feel about the movie. Like, I'm not getting anything new from The Invite. I also think the characters in the movie kind of feel like cliches, but the movie overcomes that only because of the actors in it. Like, I really do believe that The Invite only works because of the star power of Olivia Wilde and Seth Rogen. I think they elevate the movie into something it really doesn't deserve to be. Like, there are versions of this movie I absolutely would have hated, and I think they are the versions of the movie that don't have either Wilde and Rogen in it. Wilde and Rogen being brilliant in this movie is why I think it is a very good movie, but I am not willing to call this a great film. I don't think that The Invite is great, although I know there are many people out there that disagree with what I am saying. The other thing about The Invite worth talking about is the film's open-ended ending that I won't spoil, but it does kind of bother me because it's trying to give everybody what they want. And maybe that's a good thing. Maybe movies should give everybody what they want. But I find it rather annoying, and I've had my issues with these kinds of endings in the past, going all the way back to Vince Vaughn and Jennifer Aniston led The Breakup. Generally speaking, the movies I like the most take a stance on their subject matter with a precise ending, not a loosey-goosey ending that kind of leaves me wanting more. I was impressed by this movie. I loved the acting of Olivia Wilde and Seth Rogen, but I really think maybe the movie could have overcome some of the cliche elements I've been talking about if the ending was more substantial and something that I would end up remembering more so than just being open-ended. Here's a perfect example of what I'm talking about. Say what you will about La La Land, still one of my favorite movies, but why that movie is remembered for is its powerful ending. I mean, some people disagreed with it, some people loved it, but people still talk about it because that movie took a stance. It had that ending that made you go, wow, Damien Chazelle really went for something here. And he is a director who has continued to do that. I mean, even before La La Land with Whiplash. I think movie endings are a pivotal part of a movie being great. I think for me to consider a movie to be great, I have to really agree with the movie's ending. And I don't agree with how The Invite ends. And it's one of the main reasons why I think it's a very good, not great movie. And I think this criticism is bigger than The Invite. I mean, my issue goes all the way back to movies based on romantic relationships. Everyone seems to think that we want these open-ended endings so that half of us can go, well, I think the couple is still together, and the other half goes, well, I think they broke up. That just doesn't interest me. That is not something new. Again, we've been doing these kinds of endings now for so long. I'm just annoyed by them. I've seen them before. Take a stance. Show me where you think the characters are by the end of the movie. And The Invite was just not willing to do that. And I think this all comes down to the fact that I just feel like if you're going to make a movie about a long-time married couple, you have to have a fresh take on the subject. You have to have something new to say. Or it's just going to feel like you're making something that feels like a movie I've already seen. And The Invite definitely has elements of that again, I think it overcomes by the fact that Olivia Wilde and Seth Rogen are so good in this movie. Ultimately, I think the difference between The Invite being a really good movie and a great movie is how I feel about the film's ending. It's just not what I wanted as an audience member. Again, I'm sure so many of you are going to disagree with what I'm saying. Maybe you have a history of loving open-ended endings in movies. I don't. I've always had this issue, and I don't think it's going to go away anytime soon. Oscar chances. The Invite is definitely a movie that's going to get an Oscar nom. The question is how many. Now, I really feel like now is the time for Olivia Wilde and Seth Rogen to become first-time Oscar nominees. I mean, they've been in the public eye for a long time. We all have our perceptions about them. There are good performances in their career. There are some questionable ones as well. They've been relevant for a really long time, and I think they do some of their best acting in The Invite, and it's time to recognize them for that. I think they have evolved as performers. I absolutely believe that a Seth Rogen Oscar nomination is long overdue. I think it should have happened for both Steve Jobs and for The Fabelmans. And as for Olivia Wilde, I'm going to completely lose my mind if other actors are nominated for this movie and she isn't. I truly believe she is the catalyst of The Invite. This movie would fall apart with anybody else playing this part. I could, of course, also see Edward Norton and Penelope Cruz getting nominated as well. They are always Oscar darlings when they are in a movie. I just don't think it's their best work, but I think there are people out there that disagree, that believe they do give Oscar-worthy performances. As of right now, I don't see Olivia Wilde getting a nomination for Best Director. I think she did a better job of directing the film Booksmart. I think here she deserves the acting nomination. It's like Bradley Cooper from Maestro. It was the right call for him to be nominated for that performance over the work he did as a director, even as incredible as it was. Olivia Wilde's best contribution to The Invite is her performance. A screenplay nomination is definitely in play, and I also just think it is way too early to talk about this movie getting nominated for Best Picture, but it's not totally out of the question. I think this is a movie that has a giant number of supporters, and there are people out there who, like me, have some questions about it, but it doesn't feel like a movie that has a lot of doubters at this point. And quite possibly the best thing this movie has going for it is it's in the culture. For such a small movie, it has been in the conversation. The Invite has made over $51 million at the box office. People are talking about it. It is culturally relevant. People have strong opinions about this movie, which is always going to help its chances get Oscar nominations. It also doesn't hurt that the movie stars four really respected actors who we all have a history of watching over the years. Olivia Wilde, Seth Rogen, Edward Norton, Penelope Cruz. I've watched so many movies starring these four actors. Overall, there is a large contingency of people who are way higher on this movie than I am. I don't really believe there's a chance that Olivia Wilde wins Best Actress, but I would absolutely love to live in a world where it happens. I definitely believe that I watched an Oscar-worthy performance from Olivia Wilde in The Invite, and I feel the exact same way about Seth Rogen. Now, what would get me incredibly upset is if Edward Norton and Penelope Cruz get Oscar nominations ahead of Olivia Wilde and Seth Rogen. I truly think that would be the wrong call, and that would be so insane. I'm willing to listen to people who believe that The Invite is a great movie, even if I don't think it is. What I'm not willing to listen is people who believe that Olivia Wilde and Seth Rogen are not the best parts of this movie. This movie is carried by these two actors. And I won't listen to anybody who says otherwise. I'd be less upset if one of them gets nominated and the other one doesn't, but really I do think that Olivia Wilde and Seth Rogen should be first-time Oscar nominees come the Academy Awards. It really should happen. This should be the movie. It's been a long time coming for Seth Rogen, and Olivia Wilde is having a moment. We don't all have to agree on the quality of The Invite, but what we do have to agree on is that the best part of it is Olivia Wilde and Seth Rogen. They have incredible chemistry. and I now want to see them play love interest in multiple movies moving forward. And when it comes to Wilde's directing career, I was never fully off board. I still believe in her as a filmmaker. I just want to see her direct and star in her own movies. Thanks for listening to this edition of Pop Culture Spotlight. I'm Cameron McKinney, and there'll be a new episode of the podcast every Thursday on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. I highly recommend you check out The Invite. Next week on the podcast, I'm talking about the film The End of Oak Street from writer-director David Robert Mitchell, starring Anne Hathaway, Ewan McGregor, Macy Stella, and Christian Convery. So tune into that and please rate, review, and subscribe.